really quick. I say that, I don't know why I even say that, because it's never really quick. You guys, if you want to know what's going to happen, you have to look to what's already happened. You have to look to the Old Testament. Lots is happening in the Old Testament, okay? In the New Testament, but really, the Old Testament. And remember this. I know so many people think that they're not worthy, they're not going, they've done so much. You guys, we don't know the people of the Bible. We read about them, okay? We weren't there. We don't know. We know Saul, right? He had murdered Christians. Of course, God changed him, and it was wonderful. But Moses, Moses, and I always pray for the chutzpah of Moses, that chutzpah of him, and I always pray for the blind faith of Moses. But, Moses, he had a temper, very bad temper, right? Moses had some crazy times. Think about that. He did. He had absolutely crazy times. Boy, King David too. As much as I love King David, I love King David's heart. Love it, love it, love it. Because he did have a wonderful heart. But the flesh also got to him too. King David did some bad stuff. Some bad stuff. God still loved him. Look how much God loved him. Loved him. Remember this. Remember this. Always remember this. Always remember this. But you have to go to him. You have to go to him. You have to go to him. Don't ever think that what you've done is so bad you can't have forgiveness for if you haven't asked. We don't know. We read who these people are because we read the final outcome. I mean, we get a glimpse of, bits and pieces throughout there, but we weren't there. We don't know. We don't know. We just know what's written. We know a few words. There had to be some crazy times. There had to be some that did things that we probably would have went, really. Sneeze. Oh, don't you hate when you lose a sneeze? But see, people don't know. We don't know everybody's walk. We don't. We don't know what they've been through. We don't know what they prayed for. We don't know the conversations between others and God. We don't. I know what mine was. I don't know what anybody else's was. They can tell me, but I wasn't there. I wasn't there. Can't judge. Can't judge. Or what you think. What you think. Can't. Can't be Pharisees. Can't be Pharisees. And that's what a lot of people are going through. You do it. But all these patterns are going to repeat themselves. Gonna repeat themselves. I've just been really thinking about this past couple weeks is the pattern of Passover and of Jesus and even the disciples. The night before he was arrested or when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane when they were praying, and he told the 3 disciples to stay awake. Stay awake. I gotta go pray. Stay awake. Now think about that. If that was us, we'd be thinking, I'd stay awake. If he told me to stay awake, the Lord told me to stay awake, I'd stay awake. They fell asleep. They were men. They were human. They fell asleep. Was he mad? Yeah, he's mad. He's mad. But he went on. He went on. But yeah, they fell asleep because they were human. I remember that. They were human. The disciples, Jesus battled with them. They as much as they saw, they were right there. They got to see all these miracles. They were God in flesh, in person, and still they doubted, and still they backslid some. They'd come right back up, but they weren't perfect. They were not perfect. They were not perfect. We all know that. We all know their backgrounds, who they were, where they came from. But know, even what everything they experienced, Peter, oh, Rabbi, oh Lord, I'll never deny you. Never, that would never happen. He did. Because of fear. He was afraid. He was afraid. It was fear. Fear does a lot. I mean, Peter was human. He was human. Jesus knew that. He knew that. So when you think that you've done something so bad, because we hate to disappoint him, but remember the disciples. Peter denied him 3 times, just as Jesus said he would. Hard stuff. But I think about how easy it is. How easy it is. I think about the thief on the cross. He didn't even know Jesus. But he knew. He knew he was the Son of God. He knew that. And when he said, I'm guilty. I did this. I'm a thief. I deserve what I'm getting. This man does not deserve what he is getting. And that's when he turned and he said, Rabbi, remember me in your kingdom. And that's when Jesus said, I tell you this today. No, I tell you this, comma. Today you will be with me in paradise. So that meant Jesus had to go to paradise that day. Because that's what he said. That day. He had to be with him. Jesus had to go to paradise. He had to go to heaven at some point. Because it was after his death, it was open. So they could go there then. So he had to go at some point. But what I'm saying is, just like that, it was done. Because that man's faith. You understand? So, we are human. We're human. He knows that. But have open ears. Pray for divine wisdom. Divine. Everything has to be divine. You know that. But please, don't think that you've done so much that he'd never take you. Oh, please, really? Come on. People of the Bible, and he picked him. They didn't pick him, he picked them. All walks of life. So, just normal people. That's why he didn't give any of this to scholars, too. He didn't. All this information that he's given, he didn't give it to scholars. Because he knew they would tear it apart. They knew that it wouldn't be the Spirit leading them. It would be the flesh. It would be the mind. It would be the flesh leading them. And they would not believe it. They would spend years tearing this information apart and dwelling over it. And that's why he did not give the mysteries and the sealed words of the end to the theologians and to the scholars. He didn't want them to have it. He wanted the normal people to have it. That knew, that went on faith, that wouldn't rip it apart. It's the same kind of people, the same exact people that he picked in the Bible. Old Testament, New Testament. Just people. We are just people. You understand? Just people. We're not anybody, we're just people. They weren't anybody either. They were somebody after, but they weren't somebody then. You understand? You've got to look at all those things. These scholars, the ones who, supposedly know it all, Jesus told us that they will look back on his word. They will look back and they will say, how come we didn't see that? How come we didn't know that? How come we didn't read it like that and understand it like that? How did we miss that? How did we miss that? That's what he said. How did we miss that? They're going to say that. Well, You know? Just the normal, regular people that are getting it. That are getting it. And he knew that. He knew it. That's why he gave it to them. That's why he gave it to just the normal, regular people. You know, it's the same. But Jesus on the cross, and the thief said that to him, you know, done just like that, done. But that pattern, again, just like that. Just like that. You know, about a month ago or so, or videos back, I got really emotional. So I get really emotional. And I was talking about how God had to turn his face from Jesus. You know, he had to turn his head from him for a brief moment. And that's when Jesus was on the cross, and he said, Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? It was brief. It was just like that. It was brief. But when Jesus, because he didn't feel him, right? And so the flesh part of him, right? Flesh part of him, you know, it took over and said, you know, Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? Because, see, his spirit side didn't feel the Spirit of God. Because God, for that brief moment, had to turn his head away from him. Because Jesus had the sins of the world on him, you understand? Had all the sins on him. So God being holy, he couldn't look upon him. If you understand the gravity of that, what that had to mean, and what that had to do, wow. There's going to be a time, too, you know, coming up, where there'll be just a brief moment, right? Just like that we're going to feel forsaken, okay? Just like Jesus did. We're going to, it's when we're going to feel like we don't feel him, you know, that he's not with us, but he is. It's a little dry spell, just a little something. I don't know if it's for everybody. I don't know if everybody's going to feel it or not. But I'm saying, if we do, and if we know what that is, it's just a moment. It's a pattern. It follows pattern. What happened after he died? But then remember, right after that, he said, Father, now, you know, my spirit, I give to you, you know, I put in your hands, or, you know, I mean, there's different versions of it, but he released his spirit, right? He died. Then, I say God cried hard then, but that's when the earthquake happened, and that's when the veil in the temple in Jerusalem, that's when that veil ripped, right? It was after that earthquake. It was right after he died. That's the order that'll go in. That's the order. And then he was put in the tomb for 3 days. And we all know the rest of that. And I already talked about that, what's going to happen through there. But it's a pattern. Same pattern. Same pattern. See how that goes? Remember, it's a spoken word. It's a spoken word. He can change everything, but he can't because he spoke it. He spoke all this was going to happen, so it has to happen because his word cannot come back void. It can't. So it has to happen. He also said nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. That's what he said. There's nothing new under the sun. He spoke it. So he means it. So that means everything that has happened has to happen again. And it will happen again. Nothing new under the sun. Now, we're in different times. We have different descriptions of things. Okay? But nothing new under the sun. So you want to know what's going to come. Look what's already passed. It has to be. That's why. That's why. It's all patterns. That's why. Okay, I got them all coming on now, so I don't even think you're going to be able to hear this, but I'll, well, almost 15 minutes. That was really short for me. Real quick, right? Okay. Love you. See you soon.